Good morning, everyone. And I'm Dr. Kiran Sri, working as professor in the Department of Computer Science and Engineering at Sri Vishnu Engineering College for Women, Bhimbaram. I have done my BTech and MTech in Computer Science and Engineering from Anna University, and my PhD is in the area of deep learning from JNU to Hyderabad. I have published almost 85 papers in various international journals and conferences. I have filed 4 important patents pertaining to deep learning. I have authored 6 textbooks in artificial intelligence, and I have been teaching to engineering students for the last 2 decades. And it's a privilege to be part of this international multidisciplinary virtual conference happening from July 22nd to 23rd as a speaker. And the topic that I have taken today is recent advances in artificial intelligence. So artificial intelligence is everywhere. Actually, we are living with AI. It has become an integral part of everyone's life. So without AI, it's very difficult for the life to exist smoothly. So that is the reason I have taken this title, like recent advancements in artificial intelligence. What exactly is AI is, and why we need AI, and what is the difference between AI and machine learning, and why machine learning is very important, and what are the pros and cons of machine learning. Finally, what exactly is deep learning and why deep learning is very important. So the agenda for today's session is how many types of AI mechanisms are there, what are the difference between traditional systems and AI system, and why machine learning is very important, what is deep learning, and we try to have a case study of how deep learning can be applied in bioinformatics. There are many different types of AI mechanisms are there: thinking humanly, acting humanly, thinking rationally, and acting rationally. Can we design a system that exactly thinks like a human being? Is what thinking humanly. It's very difficult to replicate a human being. So obviously, thinking humanly type of systems cannot be built up. Acting humanly. Can some of the activities that are done by a human being can be done by a system? So then we have the answer as yes. It is something like uh, what are the tasks, sophisticated tasks that human beings does can be done by a system. It is the study of how computers do things at which the moment people are doing better. So to some extent, acting humanly is possible. The third one is thinking rationally. Can we use some computational models to design things? The last one is acting rationally. Can we design an intelligent system, or can we design a computer which exhibits intelligence? Or can we design an intelligent agent? This is what we call it as acting rationally. So acting rationally and acting humanly can be achievable. The reason is, you take any example, like you take IBM Deep Blue. IBM Deep Blue is a chess playing system which has defeated the world champion Garry Kasparov in 1997. The idea is you have a chessboard consisting of 64 boxes, and we have 32 pieces that has to move based on some rules. How can you develop a strategy for this chess game? It's the most important part of AI. In the case, if you don't consider chess, you think about tic-tac-toe game or a name game. So most of the people heard about a word called as Tesla. We call it as a semi-autonomous car, where the features of Tesla are lane centering, adaptive cruise control, self-parking, automatic lane change. All these are the aspects of Tesla, and Tesla is implemented by using deep learning. Uh, Most of the people know about Sophia. Sophia is a humanoid robot where it can express itself, like it can interact with people, it can represent some emotions, it can have facial expressions, it can also have some human-like expressions. Most of the people heard about Mycin is an expert system which will suggest and which will, help the doctors to prescribe medicines without any side effects. Many weather prediction systems are built based on artificial intelligence. We have many systems called as LSTMs, which predict the variations of stock markets. We have seen movies, English movies like Terminator and Matrix, where exactly the AI is, how the AI is represented actually. We have not reached that level, but AI was there in that movies. Recently in India, we have a e-challan mechanism that was proposed, where when a car exceeds a speed limit in an H5, automatically the challan will be sent to your email. Like they have kept some webcams in the NH5s, and these webcams will take automatically a picture, and the picture will be converted into a text, and based on the text they will send you the email corresponding the each year and how much you have to pay. You have witnessed IBM Watson, where it is a question and answer mechanism. AI is used everywhere: product mechanisms, product sessions, YouTube sessions. Even in MIT, people are using deep learning for future prediction. It's a very important application of artificial intelligence. And then most of the people ask you what is the difference between a traditional system and an AI system. In traditional system, we try to write the code, compile the code, and then execute your code. In AI-based system, we try to extract, find the data and datasets, then try to apply a machine learning and deep learning algorithm, and then we try to predict something, like we are trying to have a model which can predict something. And people will also ask what is the difference between an AI system and a neural network system. In AI, mostly the thinking will be based on the design part, where in neural network it is on training and testing part. And the representation that we follow in AI is a symbolic representation, and the representation that we follow in ANN is a numeric representation. So the output cannot be explained in neural network, but the output is explicitly, we can explain, we can also guess what exactly the output that we get for the AI system. And the processing that will be done in AI system is a sequential processing, whereas in ANN, the processing is a distributed processing. In AI, the fault tolerance rate is very less. The system that we have in neural networks and deep learning exhibits more fault tolerance. So in traditional systems, we try to have the input, we try to write the code and get the output. But in neural networks or in machine learning, what is that we do is, we have an input, we have output, we try to build a model which will get the output for the given input. It's very important, the definition is. So artificial intelligence will enable the systems to think like human beings. Like it is mimicking a human brain, but machine learning, you have a different systems. AI systems needs the ability to acquire their knowledge by extracting patterns from the raw data. We call that data as, or we call that power as machine learning power. How can you extract something from the data? Ability to learn without explicitly getting programmed is machine learning. So what does machine learning will do is, machine learning will try to build a model based on the given input and output. And deep learning is a deep neural network. When people used to go for deep learning in the terms of when the data is huge and the number of features are also more. So what is machine learning, and what are the different types of machine learning that we have? And what are the drawbacks of machine learning? What are the reasons we are going for deep learning? That's what we're going to discuss now. I said machine learning is an ability to learn without explicitly getting programmed. And there are three types of machine learning we have. We have supervised learning, where the data is labeled and the algorithms learn to predict the output from the given input. Whereas unsupervised structure, The data is unlabeled and algorithms try to find out the inherent structure from the input. Like it try to find out high intrasimilarity and it try to find out with low intersimilarity aspects in the terms of data. So you have various supervised mechanisms like regression was there, classification was there, where classification tries to give some labels, regression tries to give some values. We have linear regression algorithm, random forest algorithm, and support vector algorithm, decision tree algorithms in supervised learning. In unsupervised, we have principal component analysis. Most of the people say it is a PCA, K-means algorithm, a priori algorithm. All this will be there in unsupervised algorithms. The most important applications of supervised learning are sentimental analysis, recommendation systems, spam filtering or filter of spam identification. In unsupervised, mostly people go for document clustering, anomaly detection, something like that. So we have a semi-supervised algorithm called as reinforced learning, that will happen based on the feedback. Most of the people, when they try to implement robotics, they will go for reinforced learning. And traffic management, people are using reinforced learning. And personal recommendation systems, mostly they will go for reinforced learning. Learning that will happen in the terms of feedback is what we call it as reinforced learning. And we have many supervised and unsupervised algorithms, many algorithms. Every algorithm will have their own advantages and disadvantages. And we are not getting into all these algorithms because we try to have why we have to go for deep learning. What are the disadvantages that we have for machine learning? When the data volume is more and when the data features are more, it's very difficult for a machine learning algorithm to perform well. That is the reason we need to go for deep learning. Error susceptibility will be more when the data is more, and deep machine learning cannot handle high dimensional data. And when the number of features are there, the machine learning algorithms will not perform better. Instead, they will go for a plateau. You can see in this next diagram like this. This diagram will show you when the amount of data is more, most of the machine learning algorithms, the performance is like a plateau, it is static. But in deep learning algorithms, when the data is more, the performance is getting increased. That is the reason whenever people try to have images or text or voice or videos, they're trying to go for deep learning algorithms. Deep learning is a deep neural network. Like you can have any number of hidden layers there. Many deep learning mechanisms are there because most of the people they are going for either CNN or RNN or many algorithms. Like we can start learning deep learning in the terms of single perceptron layer. Most of the people know this multi-perceptron layer where we call it as a feed-forward network. Autoencoders, RNN, recurrent neural networks. Whenever we have a sequential data, then we try to go for RNN. When the system is more complex, like the sequential data, we have a huge sequential data, then we can go for the variation of RNN. We call it as LSTM. LSTM is where we can go for finding the variations of stock market. When people try to think about images and voice video processing, they will go for CNN, convolutional neural network, for face detection. And we have many models on deep learning in the terms of deep generative models, restricted Boltzmann methods, and many other deep learning methods based on different activation functions. Sometimes we go for step functions, sometimes we go for sigmoid functions, many different types of activation functions. So convolutional neural network is of type feed-forward networks. Most of the time when we try to have image processing applications, then we go for CNN, video recognition, natural language processing, pattern recognition, medical image analysis, all this will come into CNN. When there is a time series data, when the data is interrelated, then we go for RNN, like sequential cutting analysis, or weather forecasting, or stock market prediction. All this we go for RNN. Many times when people talk about sentimental analysis or sentimental classification, they will go for RNN. And video clustering or video classification, they will go for RNN. And the extension of RNN, most of the people call it as LSTM, long short-term memory, where people use this for sentimental analysis. JAN is the generative adversarial networks, where it is unsupervised learning structure. When people try to have algorithms that are developed in cyber security, then directly they will go for GAN, because we have inbuilt libraries and mechanisms that will support cyber security. When we try to build a health diagnosis system, also this generative adversarial networks will be useful for us. Even people are trying to use this JAN for speech learning processes. And restricted Boltzmann machine is used for filtering and recommendation systems. Everywhere we try to have a recommendation systems now. And topic modeling, whenever people try to go for topic modeling, they are using this restricted Boltzmann method. And feature extraction, all this will come into RBM. And we have another mechanism in deep learning, we call it as a deep belief network, where we can have unsupervised probability structure, where image and face recognition, video sequencing, motion capture, all these are the applications of deep belief network. So people are using all these deep generative models, restricted Boltzmann's methods, generative adversarial methods, autoencoders. Various applications are there. Now people are trying to have energy consumed models of deep learning. We call that models as TAN. People try to have different types of meaning for this energy consumption and power consumption, but all these are very important in the terms of deep learning. So overall view that we have seen why artificial intelligence is very important, and what are the applications of artificial intelligence, what exactly is the machine learning is, and how many types of machine learning algorithms are there, what are the disadvantages that we have machine learning, why we are going for deep learning, what will happen a normal algorithm is applied when the data is more and the features are more. So what is the strength of deep learning algorithms, and what are the mechanisms that we have in deep learning, what are the applications of each mechanism that we have in deep learning, and when can you go for what model that we have discussed. I have not discussed the algorithms, but my emphasis is on the recent advancement. When I try to go for image processing, then go for CNN. When I try to have process a language in the terms of sequential structure, then I go for RNN. Then when try to have algorithms that are pertaining to cyber security, we have a different type of model for AI. So based on the application, we need to find out the corresponding model that will fit, and we need to try and test according to our input and output. And these are the references that I have referred, and these are the people I have to thank. I have to thank our Vice Chairman, Dr. Ravichandran Rajgopal, my Principal, Dr. G. Srinivasarao garu, and Vice Principal P. Srinivasarao garu. I have to personally thank Dr. B. Balaji garu, the CEO and founder for the Special Minds, for giving this opportunity to talk to you all in this international conference. If you have any questions, I will take up, because I will be available online. And you have any questions, you can ping me on this email. I will be very happy to be replying for these emails. And I have to thank everyone for your patient listening. Thank you very much, and Jai Hind.